So the state that might best represent Republicans' sprawling election denialism movement in America right now is probably Arizona. The swing state has three major races with election deniers that are on the ticket. And just today, the Republican candidate for governor, Kari Lake, refused to commit to accepting the results of her own election. The Republican candidate for Senate, Blake Masters, well, he has preemptively claimed that his election will be stolen and accused machines of flipping the vote, despite that not being an actual thing. And possibly the most dangerous is Secretary of State candidate Mark Finchem, who's already suggested that he wouldn't certify a Biden victory in 2024. Now, all three of these candidates have been endorsed by the big liar himself, Donald Trump. Of course, Arizona is one piece of this growing election denialism movement. And Reuters now reports that there have been multiple incidents of voter intimidation across the country from an expanding army of election observers, many of them recruited by prominent GOP figures and activists echoing Trump's election lies, just in the time for the midterms. On that cheery note, let's bring in Adrian Fontes, the Democratic candidate for Arizona Secretary of State. It's great to have you with us. I mean, you know, as I just laid out there, it's kind of alarming to see what is happening in your state. Let me just start with the comments we heard this morning, these alarming comments from Kari Lake, as well as Masters, and your opponent, Mark Finchem, about not accepting the results of the elections.
I can't hear the comments, but I'm here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Eamon.
Okay, so let me repose that question. I apologize. I was saying, what is your reaction to some of these troubling comments that we have heard come out of the candidates in Arizona effectively?
Yeah, Eamon, I'm not surprised by it at all. I don't think anybody should. These folks are, you know, they're not just bought into the big lie. They are part of the big lie, and that's what's dangerous. And it's not so much because they're spilling out these lies. It's who that they're lying against. They're lying against regular Americans, Democrats, Republicans, independents, the regular folks who actually ran these elections, partially under my charge when I was the Maricopa County Recorder, but in all counties in all of the United States of America. They're destroying the faith that we have in one another, and that's a real problem.
Do you think that the country is taking these threats seriously? We're seeing reports that states like Michigan and Colorado are seeing a surge in election deniers looking to be poll workers. Are people not taking this threat seriously?
Well, I think people are starting to take it seriously, but we should have been taking it seriously about a year or so ago when we found out that the RNC was going to be spending $154 million training people to get out there and try to intimidate voters at polling places. That's why we're encouraging all Arizonans to vote early. So if you're an Arizona voter, your voting has already started. October 12th, the ballots went out in the mail. And if those opportunities exist across the country, we're encouraging folks to vote early. Please make sure you get your ballots cast so that you know that they will be in the hands of elections officials and tabulated, just to avoid any of this nonsense on Election Day.
Yeah, and I was going to say, yet, and despite that early voting, your opponent has said that he doesn't care for mail-in voting and prefers going to the polls. But the irony and the hypocrisy, as Republicans have now become famous for, is his own voting history file from Prima County shows that he's voted by mail 28 times since 2004. Again, it's okay for him to vote by mail, but not for everyone else.
Look, here's the problem that we have with my opponent. He was paid $6,000 by Donald Trump to put on a fake hearing on November 30th, 2020, from which he gathered supposedly evidence that he was going to take on January 6th. But he was an organizer of the January 6th insurrection against our Constitution, as indicated by Ali Alexander himself. This guy is an oath keeper since 2014. He is an anti-Semite. He's called for a civil war and the stockpiling of weapons and munitions, ostensibly to kill other Americans. He is dangerous. And not just dangerous because of the politics. He's dangerous because of what he might not do. He's also called for a complete hand count of all ballots, which is not only less accurate and less secure, but it'll take forever here in Arizona. We're going to have well over 4 million eligible voters by the time we get to looking at our final rolls. This is a real problem.
I want to get your reaction, sir, to the startling promise that Jim Marchant made. He's obviously the GOP Secretary of State candidate in Nevada, and he made this to Trump supporters last week. Watch this.
So we have something in common. President Trump and I lost an election in 2020 because of a rigged election. And when I'm Secretary of State of Nevada, we're going to fix it. And President Trump is going to be president again in 2024.
It sounds like to me he wants to subvert our democracy and install himself and President Trump as, former President Trump as the president in 2024. Your reaction?
Well, look, it's exactly the same thing that we saw in the debate I had against my opponent, where they asked him what was different between 2020 and the primary in 2022. He said the candidates, because there were no other problems, I guess, in August of 2022. Look, these guys are Donald Trump bootlickers. The whole thing comes from one lost election, one guy's hurt feelings, one set of snowflakes who cannot, I guess they didn't play organized sports when they were kids or something, because they're acting like children. And that's a significant problem here. But it's not just a problem for elections. Elections, as I've said, are the golden thread that run through the fabric of our whole society. Yeah. And everything is impacted by it. Education, business, medicine, law, the arts and sciences. All of that society is impacted. If you pull that golden thread out, it all disintegrates. And that's why we're hoping people will go to electfontes.com and help us out. If you want to volunteer from around the country, that's great. If you want to donate, that's really necessary to help get our message out, to make sure that we've got honor and integrity in the Arizona Secretary of State's office.
Adrian Fontes, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. Greatly appreciate you highlighting what's at stake for your state and certainly for our democracy nationwide. Best of luck, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, there is stiff competition in our Worst of the Week series. You got to stick around to find out who wins that one.